Hello everybody, my name is Lori Singer. I'm going to show variations on how you can do a regular yoga practice on a chair. So I'm going to do the best I can to make this accessible for everybody, and hopefully I'll plant the seed of how to think of own ways that you can modify things that work for you. That's hopefully the plan. So these are going to give you some ideas that you can use, and feel free to use your own imagination and find something that's safe and works for you. All right, let's get started. So typically in a yoga class, you end up sitting down on the floor, and it usually looks like this. Sitting up nice and tall. Now you don't have to sit cross-legged, you can sit with your feet out. This is another variation. Or you could just sit however is comfortable for you. If sitting with your legs crossed doesn't work for you, you can also do the bottoms of your feet together and let your knees open up to the side. The closer your feet come to you, the more pressure you might feel on your hips. So you can have your feet way out there, as long as you can get your sitting bones on the earth, and you could sit up nice and tall. This is a great position for how we start most classes. Now on the chair, it looks a little different, but it looks familiar. You can just find yourself sitting up nice and tall. Your feet should be underneath your knees. Your knees can relax open slightly, and maybe a little bit of distance between you and the back of the chair. So you could start each class off like this, palms up or palms down. So here's your variation with that. Usually we start doing circles with the upper body, so this is a good movement to do whether you're sitting on the floor or standing up or sitting in a chair, excuse me. Good, and any variations you want to do here, you inhale, reach up, touch palms, exhale, and bring your hands down. And any of the stretches you can do here. If you're sitting in a chair, I would suggest separating your feet here a little bit and keeping your knees over your ankles. So that way if you do any side stretches here, you have a foundation of a wide foundation to help with balance issues that you might have, okay? So that's one way of doing it. Now the next thing that's a variation is sometimes we're on the floor on all fours. This is a very popular position to get a lot of things started, like downward dog and that sort of thing. So this is your tabletop position. Your hands are under your shoulders, fingers wide, knees are under the hips, lower legs are straight back in parallel. So we do stuff like cat and cow from this position. That feels good, my back is adjusting. So you're going to inhale and exhale with that movement. If it's a little uncomfortable on your knees, you are welcome to put some sort of towel or pillow under the knees, usually going across this way, so that way it doesn't really impede with your movement if you're staying on the floor. If you are standing up, you can stand in front of a chair. If you don't want to put pressure on the knees, a good variation of that is to stand in front of a chair. Now I have the front of this chair with both feet on the same rug that I'm on. So if I had this chair on the floor here, it would be slippery. So you want to make sure that the chair is on some sort of a surface that's going to keep it from sliding. You're just going to stand in front of the chair and maybe put your hands down on the seat of the chair. Get your feet underneath your hips. And here you are in a modified tabletop position. You can see how my back is nice and straight. And you can do the same type of move. Cat and cow. Inhale, tuck the pelvis, arch the back. Exhale, press the shoulders down, lift the head. So you can go back and forth with this. And if leaning too far forward, if this is a little too much, to take a step back and make it a little bit more accessible for you, if you can't lean forward quite that much, is to turn the chair around. Use the back of the chair. Make sure the chair is on a surface where it won't slip away from you. And then you can do your version of cat and cow. A little distance with my feet. Find your way. Good. So that's another way of thinking about using the chair during cat and cow. Turning it around again. So downward dog. Let's show you what that looks like on the floor, on the mat. This is normally a downward dog. Variations on your downward dog is if there's too much pressure on the wrists, you can come down onto your elbows, making sure the elbows are somewhat closer together than you think. So that way they're right underneath your shoulders. It's best not to have them so wide. You want them close and under the shoulders. You could tuck the toes. That way the hands can relax. Just remember to lift strong out of the shoulders. So this is a variation. Another variation of downward dog is to just stay on all fours. You can do a lot with a downward dog that sort of looks like a child's pose here. Kind of like this. So, for example, if we were doing a downward dog and we ended up bringing one foot up like this, a three-legged dog, your variation of that is to stay on all fours, lifting one foot up and doing what we do here. And again, all variations, you can come onto the elbows, lifting that foot up with the other knee down, or with the toe tucked under and the leg lifted. So just think creatively and find what works for you. Now I'm going to show you how to do a version of that using the chair. Just like we started tabletop, again, make sure the chair is positioned so it won't slide. Bring your hands on the chair, walk the feet back a little further than you think, and then make sure that chair is not going to slide. You're going to gently bring your chest down towards your thighs and lift those hips up nice and high. Breathe here. And then coming back kind of to that tabletop position, adjust your stance and you can lift one foot up here. Point and flex that foot, rotate the ankle. Bend and extend the knee. We do this with both legs. That way your head is above your heart when you're in this position. So if there's circulation problems or heart issues, this is a really great variation. You're not doing any pressure on the knees. You're not on the floor. You're using the chair. So again, a downward dog looks somewhat like this. In any variation, watch whatever's behind you. Here's my wall. You can point and flex that foot and do whatever variations we do with that. All right, so that's downward dog. Let's talk about doing cobra position. Typically a cobra position is on the floor, on your belly. You're going to inhale, look up, shoulders down, elbows close, lifting the chest. And going from cobra into a downward dog, you tuck the toes, lift the hips, right into a downward dog. So to modify this for a chair, this is what it looks like. Sitting in a chair completely. You're going to inhale, push the shoulders down, lift the chin. And exhale, downward dog. It kind of looks like a seated cat and cow. There you go. Kind of like that. And any variation of that in between. If I was standing in front of the chair, just like in a tabletop position, again, that downward dog with the cobra looks very much like a cat and cow. Inhale, lift the head. And exhale, find your way of a downward dog. And then come back. Good. I'm going to show you one or two more things we're going to do. I'm going to show you what a warrior pose looks like on a yoga mat and ways to variation do it on a chair. Typically, warrior pose is with one foot at the top of the mat, lined up with the foot in the back. The front knee bends, the knee goes over the toes. You're going to look up. Well, it points in the direction of the toes, let's be clear. Here's warrior one, and then here's your warrior two. Very nice. So you can have your feet a little closer together so it's not as aggressive. If you're going to try to modify a pose or try something different, don't make the moves as big. Make them a little smaller and more accessible for you. So, you know, an easier version was the feet a little closer together, just the softness in that knee, reaching up, opening out. Now, if I was going to do this on a chair, and I was playing with this a little bit, and so the foot position is going to be different than it is if you're on a yoga mat. I would suggest sitting as far close to the front of the chair as you can, so you have space behind you. Your feet are nice and wide apart, but your toes are equally pointed out in each direction. So don't worry about one foot facing out, the other one facing in. I think I would feel most comfortable recommending that the knees stay right over the ankles and your toes are pointed away from you and your knees are pointing in the same direction as your toes. So this is what warrior one would look like. If we were going on the right side, you would inhale both your hands up, turn your torso towards your right knee and hold as you exhale, and you breathe and hold here. So just your torsos forward, all of your toes are articulating with the floor, your legs are active, keeping your knees over your ankles. So this knee doesn't come down, it stays up and active. And if we were going from warrior one into warrior two, the right hand would come out to the side, the left hand behind or on the other side, and you're using your gaze to look over that right fingertips, but your feet stay grounded and firm and even with each other. So this is over the right side. You can inhale, bring your hands up, reach up, palms facing in, turn and face over your left knee and hold here, breathe. This is warrior one on the left side. And then warrior two on the left side. Open your hands straight out to the side. Use your eyes to gaze over your left fingers, but your feet stay grounded. And the weight distribution between your feet are even and your knees are over your ankles. And both knees are pointing in the same direction as your toes. Spine long, shoulders down. And inhale and exhale. Very nice. And chair pose. If you're familiar with chair pose on the yoga mat, inhale, exhale, hips are always back, toes can still move. From a side position, this is about really great posture. So you're not hunched over and you're holding yourself here. You want good posture and to be looking forward. Hips are back, toes can move. Hands to heart, a little deeper. Toes can still move. On a chair, it is chair pose after all. Aren't you lucky? Sitting up tall, inhale. And exhale the shoulders back and down. So with your feet underneath your knees, the feet are active in the floor and your posture is really tall here. Chest, shoulders are down, chest is lifted. Think of lengthening and expanding. When you're seated in that chair, you're having very, very, very good posture, whether you're standing or seated. And then release. So that's all I can think of for now. If you want any ideas on how to modify other yoga poses, please let me know. Leave comments, ask questions. This is for you guys to make any of these yoga classes more accessible for you. So thank you so much for joining. Let me know if you want another video like this showing modifications of other yoga poses. Take care, everyone, and thanks for coming.